Now, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. This is Dave Emmons with the Strange Reality Show, and I guess I need to change my backdrop so you can get a little bit better chance of seeing what show I'm doing here. Let me see. Yeah, you're seeing all my little cheat sheet here. Okay. All right. That's Strange Reality with Dave Emmons. And I talk about all types of topics, subjects, ETs, UFOs, current events, sometimes ancient history. I have a guy that I've been wanting to get on my show for some times because he's I call him Mr. Sedona, Arizona. He actually his name is Michael O. Sedona, and he's been having these UFO tours. And I guess I'm going to read you off of what he does here. He's a very sharp guy, and I've seen some military background here, and that's very unique. We were talking before the show about telepathy, and we'll have to bring that back up, Michael. Uh, Michael O. Sedona, multimedia developer, songwriter, screenwriter, musician, engineer, programmer, animator, TV show host, and contactee. And that's very interesting. I'm also a musician and a contactee, Michael. So that's how I'm reading you off here really well. Michael is a multi talented individual who never learned that enough is enough. Never ending quest for knowledge has driven him to pursue many fields. He's a Summa graduate in computer science, in Who's Who in media and communications, creator of Element 115 show, pioneer of digital video production and special effects, teacher of multimedia software, electrician and electrical engineer, author, programmer of digital, I guess, uh, Caracula. Okay, I didn't the late. He was not very good, Michael. Multi-instrumental musician. He plays multi-instruments, and him and I share similar backgrounds in music and contactee. Michael O. Sedona, thank you coming from Sedona. You're recording from Sedona, and you are. I mean, I'm reading all these things that you've been involved in. Very unique, and also you have some military top secret plus, I guess, work that you've done, and you had some ET encounters there. Uh, Tell us what you do, Michael, and what's going on in Sedona right now with you.
Well, the big thing is the official World War IV is over as of the end of December, but there's still apparently a lot of space traffic and space missions that are going on using the anti-gravitic ships that we see by the hundreds every night with the classified third gen night vision. Excuse me while I get rid of that.
Yeah,
There, there.
I've seen some orbs when I was in Sedona on a Gen 3 night vision. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these aren't orbs that we're looking at. They're actually spacecraft. The Earth, under Terra Defense Forces, the Earth, not United States alone, has a $100 trillion space program. We have 5,000 plus spacecraft, and we're most of them now, except for the old classics, are running on modifying the gravitic nature of plasma and using that as a drive. So we're now able to go interstellar because we can drive ships effectively faster than light. And it's by cheating, it's by bending the time space in front of the ship to make that happen. But it effectively gets there faster than a photon would by an order of magnitude sometimes.
Is that our secret space program they talk about a lot, Michael?
Well, we started out with Dark Fleet, and then it became the Secret Space Program, and now it's Space Force. But
Okay.
there are, just as there are levels in the Air Force that are general and then classified and then undocumented, there are elements of Space Force which are general and then classified and then undocumented. So we rolled over all the hardware out of the Navy and Air Force um, stockpiles into the Space Force. and Space Force answers to the commander in chief. They, the whole ostensible thing is that they are under Air Force. No, no, they're not. Not the real stuff. The
Yeah.
real stuff only answers to the commander in chief.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of activity because we've been in World War IV for 16 years. And we started with the underground wars, and then we went into the space wars. We actually witnessed a ship on ship or ship on satellite battle and destruction on April 11th of 2023. On the tour, we had 23 guests. It was a wedding party. We had 23 guests on the tour, and Carla and myself. So 25 people, 25 goggles. We're all looking up at the same spot because we had just seen 3 craft come from different directions that kind of all crossed kind of in a similar place.
Mhm.
And that looked kind of cool. So we were still looking there, and we saw a ship come this way, and I think it was a satellite that came this way. When it got pretty close, the ship shot a beam weapon, not a projectile, a beam weapon at the target and blew it into 3 pieces, which rained down in slow motion for 1.5 seconds till it burned out, and the ship kept on going.
Okay, you're talking about World War IV. What happened
Yeah.
to World War III?
Oh, World War III, they don't teach you that in school. It's
Yeah,
amazing. World
they
War
do.
III was 1986 to 1991 when the world, through the United States banking machine, took down the Soviet Union. So it was the world against the Soviet Union, and elements of the United States, because there is no United States government. There's elements of the United States government, and elements of the United States government who were in control at the time borrowed gold from around the world that was a value of about $1 trillion, and they had it in the basement of Building 6 at World Trade Center.
Oh,
You want to guess where I'm going with this?
yes, I know
So
where you.
then they turned around and they sold bonds. They sold bonds like crazy for a lot more than they had in gold. Same old trick, Ponzi economics. So they had, some 10 trillion or whatever money out in these bonds, of which the Space Force program, the secret space program, got a lot of it. But the other countries did that put their gold in, got some too. Okay, so we're holding the gold, and then all the bonds from 1989 to 91 became due September 12th, 2001. Now, what happened September 11th, 2001, Dave?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
big.
guess where those bonds were stored, Dave?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're
89th floor, Tower 2.
wow.
Okay,
You're making a lot of sense here. My goodness.
so then and then on the 10th, Rumsfeld comes on TV, right? The night before September 11th, September 10th, Donald Rumsfeld comes on TV, tells everybody, Pentagon lost $2.3 trillion. We can't find it.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
The next day, the office where all the people and the records were that were investigating the missing 2.3 trillion hit with a missile. There was no airplane. There were no airplanes. Hit with a missile, killed everybody investigating it and all the records that they had so far accumulated to investigate the missing $2.3 trillion.
Yeah, the Pentagon. Yeah, they said it
The
wasn't enough.
Pentagon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So what do I do, Dave? I investigate stuff and I talk about it and I put it on my TV channel and I talk about it. I answer any question on any topic on my tours because ET gave me the key to, some call it the Akashic record. I don't think that's what it's a stream of all knowledge, and the stream of all knowledge is always available. In fact, it's available to all of us. But my face-to-face contact in 2001, they gave me the methodology, the checklist, the way to tie in to that stream. And so I go on stage at conferences doing this. People pay $777 a ticket for, and answer any question on any topic.
That's why I read your page that you, and I can actually tell you're professional too, because everything that you put on your sheet, I love because you kind of itemize them and put a bullet on, a mark on your expertise and what you've done, and you're very short and concise in what you're saying. I looked at this email and I said, "Wow, Michael knows what he's saying here." I mean, he's short and to the point on his background and on his talking points. And actually, the talking points, you were a top secret plus, and this is how you got into knowing a lot of this knowledge. And the other question is too, nobody knew, the general public did not know we were fighting a war. How did they keep that away from us? First of all, then we'll get into your top secret plus.
But now it's out, it's coming out, isn't it? Now it's
Yes,
coming out that we've
yes,
been in a war, right? And
yeah.
I've been talking about this on my tours for six of the last 7 years. um, because the dots add up, Dave.
Yeah.
It always goes back to the math. So I was working for a company which did DoD projects, a major company. I mean, I'm not going to say who it is. It was just a major company doing DoD projects for the entire decade of the 80s. And my specialty when I started up was um, mechanically, electrically, and software-wise working on everything that hangs on an F-14. So every missile from the Phoenix to the Harm, little Sidewinder action, and the AUG-9 weapon system that controls it all. I was a pilot, but I was not a jet pilot. So I was really interested in working on the things that this company assigned me to. And I coded in 3 different languages at the time that, and all this without a degree.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. Um, they promoted me as far as the company promoted me as far as they could. And though everything is compartmentalized, I have this nasty photographic memory. And so if I walk into a room or through a room and I look around, I can see what's going on. And those become data points, and data points become objects, and objects become projects, and projects become, um, plans, right? So I can see all the way back. And I have had the opportunity to be on a few projects that were very leading edge regarding their telemetry. Okay, not their propulsion, but their telemetry. And so I worked on things that are satellite. I worked on a Dave. I worked on a satellite constellation that can tell who you are. It doesn't need you to have a cell phone. It
Satellite
doesn't
constellation.
doesn't need to be daylight.
Could you explain the satellite constellations?
Yeah, it actually well, if I name the name, then I'm going to get in big trouble.
Okay.
So since I've already told you, I'm going to tell you what it's about instead. Okay,
Okay.
it is more exciting than the name.
Okay.
So this satellite constellation is what they're called. Is when there's a bunch of them. This satellite constellation could tell who you are based on the frequencies coming off of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has a cord, not spinal cord. That's like an actual chord, but a chord like a musical set of notes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a chord that's coming off of their brain, and it's unique to their brain, although it does change in amplitude and phase based on what you're doing and emotional input and chemicals in the blood and things like that. But it's generally, it just puts off a chord. So these satellites can tell who you are because they've already connected you to a cell phone. They've already connected you walking inside of a Kmart or a Walmart. They've already connected you. Okay, so you don't have to have anything on you, just you.
Mm-hmm.
And you go outside and they know who you are. As long as, Dave, you're more than 6 feet apart from anybody else.
Really? 6 feet apart. I knew they
Six
followed
feet.
me from Illinois to Alaska. They knew where I was at. And people wonder, well,
Oh, yeah,
how do they
yeah.
keep up with
But
contact?
do you hear the connotation of what I just said?
Yeah.
As long as you're 6 feet
Oh,
apart. Now, do you remember sometime recently when they wanted everybody to stand more than 6 feet apart?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, that's kind of rings the bell right there. That's kind of weird. And I actually, this thing that they were saying 6 feet apart, I don't want to say it, the C
Yeah,
word, whatever, but
yeah.
it, that 6 feet wasn't enough to stop the.
Well, first of all, there's no such thing as SARS-CoV-2. I'm going to say that much. I think you won't get blank for that.
You know,
In a human being doesn't exist. Never has. It's a computer model only. What they let out, the BIOWEAPON that they let out was not that anyway. And those were only in certain cities to get things. The rest of it was common flu. But anyways, the important thing that was trying to happen there was that was part of World War IV. That was where the bad humans, who are we call the cabal,
you know.
are fighting the good humans, which we call the alliance. And there's alliance and cabal in every country, and there's ETs helping both sides. Okay,
Uh,
this is World War IV.
you're talking it up my alley here on this one, Michael.
Okay,
You're
good.
you're saying everything that I've said to people is that they don't need implants in you. I've had a couple of implants,
Exactly.
but they don't need implants to trace you and know where you're at. They
Yeah.
read your frequencies, and
They
that's what.
really don't need to read your every thought.
Yeah.
They just need to know what your adrenaline level is
Mm-hmm.
and the speed at which you're traveling and who you are. And everything else can be AI derived based on everything else you've ever done. And AI has been around a lot longer than 6 months.
Yeah, I believe so. That what they've been telling us throughout history is a lie. They've been lying to us. Now, you talked, Michael, here about a lot of this stuff that's going on. You can't name a lot of things. You had this top secret. You called it the inner circle. Is that the cabal, what you're talking about, Michael?
No, no, no. That's a whole nother thing. The inner circle was a group of people, friends, who were in Phoenix when I was in Phoenix. This is after I retired. I retired in 1990, and I became a macromedia developer. I was doing 3D animation and character development, animated character development, and voiceovers and things for education. And this group called the Inner Circle, they existed in Phoenix, 15 of them, to uncover cover-ups. That was the reason of their being, uncovered cover-ups and expose what's really going on, from orbs around campfires to, like, ships in the sky, to Kincaid's Cave at the Grand Canyon, which we found, to um, uh, weather weapons that exist all over the place, actually. But there's one north of Phoenix called Turret Mountain. It's like I put chemtrails on talk radio somewhere around 1999 or 2000. It was a very open the lid, let's let this stuff out
Uh-huh.
and land where it may. Now, in no case did I ever violate my oath to the Constitution or a project, at no time. However, there's a lot of stuff that I know about and have seen or whatever that I didn't sign anything on, or I have mathematically derived. And then later, supporting evidence, usually within 5 to 10 years, supporting evidence comes out to whatever it is that I'm saying for the first time off the cuff. I've already put the numbers together, the math already. Look, Dave, I was downloaded all mathematics basically through analytical geometry when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
So everything that I learned through the wonder years, the 6 to 12 wonder years, right, came through this filter of mathematics. So if it didn't add up, it literally didn't add up, and I would reject it as truth.
Who sent you these messages, Michael?
Right? I didn't know until my face-to-face meeting in 2001. And it was these Cruxians, these 3 8-foot, um, very white, slightly blue alien individuals. I'm not supposed to say alien, extraterrestrial individuals who they downloaded the math to me when I was 2. And then when I was 7.5, and I know I was 7.5 because that half is important when you're 7.5.
Yeah, yeah.
I was 7.5, and I woke up from a dream of more than 2 billion years of our solar system's history, plus the start of, this verse and other things like there's no such thing as an electron. I knew all that back in 1966, and it's been an interesting path. Only last year they finally have figured out that there's no such thing as an electron. So
You're an
uh,
electrician and also electrical engineer. And did you know?
and no degree
Yeah,
and one class called calculus for electronics. Um, it's because it's all logical and mathematical to me, Dave. Just
oh,
like playing guitar or keyboards or drums or bass or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I know I've played drums and guitar also, but and that's why a lot of the things that you and I are talking about, I'm very familiar with what you're saying and what
Yep.
you're talking about. I believe this frequency thing with each one of us,
That's
and
the key to everything.
yeah, it is. And a lot of people say, well, how do they know where you're at? Well, yeah, they know where you're at by frequencies, but also I feel frequencies and electrical shocks a couple of times. That's what they use. It's like static energy. It hits you and it just paralyzes you.
Oh,
Uh,
I've had the 110 dance.
you did.
I like wiring things hot,
Yeah. Uh-huh. I
I don't
did
bother
too.
hitting the breaker. I just, pull it out. And I've had things slip and do
Yeah.
the 110 dance.
Uh-huh.
I don't do that with 220.
No.
Okay. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, well, 110
But
can actually do you more damage. Actually, I mean, it just
because you don't let go.
yeah, I've been shocked where my arm was sore for about 2 weeks. I mean,
Oh wow.
that's how bad electricity can really
Yeah.
your muscles up, and they take
Yeah. Yeah.
long for the relief. But Michael, I mean, you're like I said, I'm interested in where you're at Sedona. I love it. I'll be there probably before long. Wife and I plan on going out west, but
Awesome.
I've had some unique experiences there, and there's some energy there that they said that the scientists can't figure out. What is going on in Sedona, Michael, as far as the energies are concerned?
Okay. So the energy is broken down into bandwidths. So let's go to the highly magnetic, softly electric ley lines of the Earth. Okay, so it's a big field, but it's not really felt by most humans. So we have a ley line that comes right down the middle of Sedona,
Hmm.
and on one side you've got Cathedral Rock, and on the other side you've got Bell Rock and Courthouse Rock.
Hmm.
Okay, and these are giant things sticking up out of the ground. What color are they, Dave?
Oh, they're reddish color and
They're red.
oh,
Why
yeah,
would they be red, Dave?
cause probably made up of clay and iron, maybe.
Iron. Exactly right.
Yeah,
So, right hand rule, you've got a iron rod, and you got
yeah.
electron flow, magnetic flow. What's it going to do when it sees that thing? It's going to go whoop, it's going to curve around it, right?
Hmm.
Vortex.
Okay.
Okay, so we have male vortices and female vortices. Okay.
Scientists, though, university said they couldn't measure it, Michael. They couldn't
Well, it's
measure it.
because it's not an always gate, Dave.
Oh,
It's sometimes it's on, sometimes it's on a little, sometimes it's on a lot. It's
yeah,
like a faucet
yeah.
that the earth decides how to turn on. And so sometimes there's a big heavy stream that flows around there, and sometimes it's just a little bit. The ley line itself is not a constant by any imagination. The ley lines of the earth are in like constant flux. So the tiny little piece that comes through, this 5 mile section of Sedona, um, it's like smoke. Okay. So if you blow smoke, there's strong sections and weak sections, and it all flows together right by, but you don't know in any 1 second what's going to actually touch your finger, right? Okay. Okay. I'm trying to come up with an analogy off the fly. That's kind of like what the ley line is like. There's densities and thinnesses, and they're not all constant, and they're always in flux and flowing.
Hmm.
So it's not going to be I'm standing here and oh it's a 10, and then the next person stands in there and goes oh yeah it's a 10. It's like no 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 no.
Yeah. When I've been there, and I'm telling people now that's listening to me that's interested in UFOs and everything, go to Sedona, actually see Michael and what he does, Michael O. Sedona, and see what he does on his tours. I imagine it would be great. I think I tried to get on your tour while I was there one time, but it was full, and so I just couldn't do it. But I went out on my own, went around to the different buttes. But at the lodge there, it's right there on the roadway. It's south of the city. It's kind of like a log cabin type front porch and everything on it.
Yeah.
What's the name? I forgot the name of it. I've stayed there several times. But one night I saw, the reason why I'm asking about this energy in Sedona, I was sitting there on the front porch, just got back from making some rounds and looking at some things, and up pulls a 57 Chevy station wagon. Out gets a woman in a long dress, like dressed like in the 50s, and she walks right into the office. And I was about, 15 feet from the office door. And then up pops a guy. Looks like he was in his mid 30s, and he crew cut hair. And he gets out and he gets out this little girl, and he had her on a leash. It was kind of like a jewel leash. He gets up on the porch. He doesn't look at me one time. None of them do. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and he's acting like he's reading or looking at a pamphlet. And the little girl he had on a leash, and she was, there at the steps of the porch, and she was a little blonde. She was about four. She's about 4 years old, little short blonde hair, real piercing blue eyes, and kind of pale. And she was barking like a dog. And I looked at her and I said, "Where's that dog coming from?" It was her. And what then happened was that I guess I was caught in the energy where my mind wasn't thinking right. I went in my room, sat down on the edge of the bed, and I said, "Wait a minute, that's illegal. He can't have that girl on the leash." I go back out and they're gone. I go to
Did they ever look at you at all? Did they ever
no,
recognize you at all?
no. The
You
girl did.
witnessed you
The-
witnessed a time stream overlap.
Yeah, the little girl looked at me and barked at me. But then I asked the manager, I said, "Who did you just see a lady coming here dressed in 50s?" And I said, "And a guy just sitting outside of your door there?" He said, "No." I said, "I think I'm crazy." He said, "No, no, no. Dave, come back." He said, "Let me explain." He said, "People see this in Sedona all the time." He said they see these, dimensional rips or whatever. And
Yeah,
could you explain that more? What goes
yeah,
on?
that's a time stream overlap.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they happen in Sedona more than anywhere else. I think that just there's more people in Sedona who won't let that go.
Mhm.
If something like that happens, look, on the tour, I said, if it, to my people, I say, especially at a large party, I say, okay, let's do a vote here. If you were levitated out of your bed, your spouse's muscles were frozen, and you're levitated out of the bed to go down the hall and turn into your kitchen and communicate with three 8-foot extraterrestrials for 12 minutes and change, and they gave you abilities and amplified abilities that you didn't have before. If that happened to you, would you tell anybody?
If I was,
And on a tour like this,
yeah.
you're going to have a higher concentration of people who would say, "Oh yes, of course I would." It'd be so important to tell the world. And on my tour, it's probably 1 out of 8 that says that they would. 7 out of 8 say that they would not. They don't
Mhm.
want to lose their job. They don't want to lose their family. They don't want to lose their inheritance. They don't want to lose whatever. Fear of loss, big
Mhm.
fear.
Right.
Fear is a great stopper of all mankind.
Yeah.
So
I,
they're lost out of fear. And this is what, see, when I was contacted by the ETs, the face-to-face contact in 2001, I was supposed to communicate with 7,000 people, and then the whole world would have had the information, except that the million people that they contacted were mostly normal humans, and they aren't going to do it. I mean, it's a bunch of factors. Do you remember the Drake equation?
I've heard of it, but
It
I
was it
can't
was
remember.
where a scientist named Drake figured out the number of
Yeah.
civilizations
Yeah.
in this half of the Milky Way that would have ability to communicate by radio frequency. Okay, and it came out to like 200,000. But it was all these factors. Here's the number of stars. Here's the number of planets. Here's the number that could contain life. Here's the number that could contain life with humanoid type or communication brain type things. And here's the guy that could actually figure out how to modify frequencies and you know, and it came, and so it started off with, you know, 100 billion stars and 400 billion planets, and it worked its way down to 200,000 cultures that have that. Anyways, it's called the Drake. I did a parody of that called the Michael equation. And the Michael equation starts off at 1 million people because the ETs let me know that they contacted 1 million humans, Earth humans, 1 million humans between 2000 and 2002. And we were all given some information that we were supposed to each give to 7,000 people because there was 7 billion people on the planet at that time. And if we all would have done it, we'd probably all be in high school right now. High school is what I call the spacefaring community. Okay. We have a breakaway Earth community that's spacefaring, but you and I, obviously, we don't get to go out in space and hang out or go to neighboring planets and see our friends. Okay. So we're not. So we're in kindergarten, you and I. Even though we know a whole lot more than most kindergartners, we're still in kindergarten because we're not allowed to join them. So, gosh, where was I going?
I can ask you, how do we join them, Michael?
Yeah, so it was the Phoenix Lights was the last test result. The test was a few years prior to that, over several years. But in 20 it was 1997, so it was March 13th, 1997. The Phoenix Light events happened. And that only thing that was reported and everybody focused on the media was the big uh, boomerang shaped ship that came over like the central population center of Phoenix, right down the 51 freeway, right, you know, right down to South Mountain. What's not reported in media is the 41 other spacecraft that came in that evening and met at South Mountain, from cubes to saucers to spheres to, you know, all kinds, and they all balls of light, and they all came to South Mountain and disappeared because South Mountain is real name. This is off the airport right there at Sky Harbor Airport, just south of it. That mountain's original name is Sierra Estrella, Mountain of the Stars. It has
Okay.
been called that for 1,600 years
Hmm.
because they've seen things coming from the stars going there.
Yeah, I heard that story.
So that was the last meeting to have a basically a vote from the consortium of planets. Okay, those that visit our space stations that are in orbit around Earth that are classified, those that we're in active commerce with by taking our ships to their planets and being in their orbits and trading stuff at their level. Um, this this group decided that nah, the humans aren't ready yet. And I have people, well, why? Well, why? We're ready. We're ready. It's like, yeah, but the whole locus of humans, the overall mathematical level, when you calculate the mean deviation from super knowledgeable, I mean, it's crazy. The humans couldn't take it. Humans are killing each other, Dave.
I know that. Yeah, just that's
So
it's
how the hell they're killing their own babies, Dave? How in the hell can they go out into space and deal with other species?
yeah,
You know,
they'd be afraid of us. They think we're a bunch of wackos, and I guess we are.
well,
You
they're
know,
about
really.
as afraid of us as we are of a rabid rat. And
Uh,
they have the weapons to take down the rabid rat at a distance, okay?
mhm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying.
Okay, that takes me to the. I've been hearing stories. I've seen people interviewed super soldiers. Can you explain that, Michael? Were they
So
involved in this World War III or
so
what?
the best of my knowledge, and I'm trying to understand all of it because I was not a super soldier. I'm going to the super soldier conference um, in October because James Rink is a friend of mine, and he wanted some of the things that I talk about that super soldiers don't talk about, and so I'm going to be there at that in October. But super soldiers, as far as I know, are have been to this point mechanical avatars
Mhm.
of real people that are put into a sleep, and used to program to transmit information to their target body. So battles are being done, things are happening with and without the conscious human's permission. And so it's a very delicate line to walk. And if you think that ETs are sensitive to talk about, the truth about that stuff is really sensitive to talk about. And so that's why everyone who even hints about it is seriously ridiculed.
Yeah.
I really don't give a damn. You can ridicule me all you want because I'm still going to be me.
Yeah.
But the super soldier program is about to move into another level where the human source is no longer needed because AI is developing so strong and so fast that it's just going to be right to the remote mechanical, and we can communicate it faster than light speed. So the remote mechanical being will keep our government factions from being responsible for the humans.
You know, a lot of people ask, they say, well, why did you have so many incidents throughout your life? And then they stop believing you after the first one or two incidents. And you sound like, Michael, that you were born gifted. Do you think you have some sort of ET frequency or DNA in you that causes you to know about all this and get involved with this without without top level education? And myself, why do they say, why me? Do you know why people are being contacted and why they're being, I guess, checked up on all the time, Michael?
This planet is constantly in cycles. Of course, everything's in cycles, but this planet's in cycles. And when the prime species of the planet enslaves itself and allows itself to be submersed in ignorance and prejudice and hatred for whatever the experts say you're supposed to hate, and then not even get a chance to know who the experts are or question them, then a triggering happens and we're brought back. And Dave, you just might be one of us. We're brought back. I was Ben Franklin. I should pull out my book and show you the picture of me side by side with Benjamin Franklin. It's uncanny.
Yeah, body.
Yeah, it's a cycle, and we just came to that point. We were really, really once the United States went under, the world's under, and we came really close. I mean, if this last election had gone a different direction, it would be an entirely different world already right now.
Yes.
So it was like, it's like when 3 or 4 ICBMs goes off that are loaded with nuke fissile material, and this little thing goes around and buzzes around like this, and now they're just inert material and they land in the ocean. There's a reason why that happens, because we're not supposed to actually kill everybody.
Yeah.
And
trying
so
to protect the planet, right? More so than us, right, Michael? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great old laboratory. It's been used by many, many races, from the Draco and even before, the giants who were here. So, it's been used by many species, and now it's ours to keep it or lose it.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about global frickin' warming either.
Right. No, that's
the only thing humans do that affects the climate is chemtrails. It's the only thing. Only thing.
I saw videos of them hooking chemtrail tanks up on a commercial airline in a wing. They were hooking them up, and the commercial airlines carry these ingredients, whatever it's heavy metals and aluminum. Michael,
aluminum oxide, barium titanate, and strontium are the primary components, but then they'll throw in biologicals when they want to make people sick. And the fog then, instead of being white, is pink. I've seen it twice, and the first time it got me, made me sick for weeks.
Wow. Yeah, this is what they saw in New Jersey and also New York. They saw fog there when all these drones, in which I want to go back here though. To Grand Canyon.
There's a question for you. There's a question for you.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up, but I want to go back to this Grand Canyon thing at the what you found there at the
Yeah,
Kincaid Cave. And
yeah.
the Grand Canyon has a lot of Egyptian artifacts in it in some of the caves.
And
And
ancient Chinese. Yeah.
yeah, and Michael, could you tell us about that since this is Kincaid? Uh,
Yeah, sure. In 1909, a man named Kincaid was going down the Colorado River and saw an opening in the wall of the Grand Canyon, some 1,000 feet up or whatever. And he got himself up there and inside the wall of the canyon, and there was remnants of a city of somewhere around 10,000 or more. And there were 6 foot golden Buddhas and statuettes, Egyptian statuettes of Thoth, and I'm trying to picture the others. Anyways, lots of gold,
yeah,
lots of gold,
yeah.
and so this flew in the face of the history that they're trying to teach. So the Smithsonian brought a railroad track in from Flagstaff down to the edge of the canyon and right through what's now the Indian Reservation, which was just Indian land at that time, wasn't a reservation, and Hopi land. And they had some kind of a hoist that was round about a 15-foot circle because we found the 15-foot circle. And that sucker was like mounted right there, really heavy. And they dropped this crane over the side and got loaded all the contents out of the canyon wall and took it in a train car and then lifted the tracks behind the train car as they went back up to Flagstaff and then head back east. We
All
found
uh,
we found pins, you know, railroad pins. We found squished water cans. Back then, the water didn't have canteens. Water came in metal cans. So we found squished water cans and a few other things that were in that event, which was a very unique. That was we went twice to scope that out, and we were met with spiritual guardians one night that I thought we were going to get lightning bolted into the Grand Canyon. The wind was blowing our tent toward the Grand Canyon, and Carla and I were inside, sitting down in a 7 foot high tent, and the wind was blowing it, almost hitting my nose. And I was laying down then, and it was still almost hitting my nose, blowing in that direction towards the 5,000 foot drop.
oh,
And it's just us in the tent, and lightning bolts are marching toward us, and it was just a most amazing event.
yeah.
But we survived it, and we didn't steal anything that wasn't ours, and took pictures. Yeah, but there was some weird events that happened on that one too. Most of these adventures that were inner circle adventures had weird stuff that happened.
What was that circle that you're talking about, Michael?
I'm thinking that that's where they dropped the crane, and that was the crane base.
Okay,
So, so they had on a train, they brought this crane,
okay.
right? And then set the crane down on the ground, and then the arm went down over the canyon where they brought stuff out uh, of the canyon with this crane
Oh,
is what I visualized.
yeah. Uh, I know the Smithsonian's been considered to be kind of a, a shadow type government or top secret, whatever, and they take like giant bones and they hide them. They take them away
Yeah.
when somebody said they find them.
Well,
And
there was a job, you could get a job working for the Smithsonian in 1949 and 1950, where you could go on a boat leaving LA and go to um, just off Catalina Island and toss bones off the boat into the deep water off of Catalina Island so that they would be destroyed by the saltwater depths.
hmm, well, so the world as we know it and history as we know it is not
Oh,
really true. It's
nothing. Look, the history books are written by a particular group of people,
yeah.
and they never tell the truth. They
And
only tell what they want you to know so that they're protected, so they continue doing crimes against humanity.
how do they control us so well? Do they have like technology with frequencies that controls our brains? Do they call
In music, yes, absolutely. And I know this because we use the same frequencies to make people pay attention to what we say, which is positive, not negative.
Mm.
So, and Terra Anomaly, I have a band called Terra Anomaly, and it's a Constitution rock band. If you like classic rock
Yeah,
and you like the Constitution,
yeah,
there's not much better than Terra Anomaly.
yeah.
And it's an anomaly on Earth, which is Terra. So Terra Anomaly. That's how that came. Um, the again, where was I going? Help me.
The band Terranormal, you was talking about that, and there's a
Yeah,
constitution
it's a
band.
Constitution rock band, and we have been I've been writing the lyrics of these songs since 2013, 2014. And then the stuff starts happening in 2016 and 2017 and 2018. And then the album I wrote in 2016 and 2017 happened in 2020 and 21 and 2022. So it's like I figured out mathematically what's going to happen, and because I'm not getting constant contact with ET. They gave me the ability to ask any question to the stream, just like you can ask me any question, I can ask me any question. And as long as it doesn't resolve to an individual, then I get the answer.
Mhm.
Then I go out and I start looking things up to try to see if there's anything that supports that answer, and then figure out, if that's something that now becomes part of my truism.
Yeah, I don't see these ETs. I wish they would come to me and talk to me and tell me what happened during the times that I had these events with them and why I saw these craft come right over me. I try, but ETs are, not extra. We don't want to call them extraterrestrials, we, aliens, I guess you call them, but they don't come when you want them to. It's a lot of times they come only when they want to, and then they surprise you when they do visit
Yeah.
you. Uh,
Yeah, it's just like self-healing, Dave.
yeah.
You set up everything that you want to happen. You set it all up. I'm going to heal this. I healed myself with stage 4 prostate cancer. Okay, so it's like was metastasized throughout my bones, by the way. Not supposed to survive. So I take the time to set up the healing of this or that, and I focus on whatever one hurts the most or whatever kind of thing at the time, and then I go to sleep. And when I go to sleep is when the healing happens, not while I'm making the command. This is what the construct is in the matrix. It's your opportunity to set up the program. And then when you sleep, the program runs. So I would suspect that since you may or may not have a conscious face-to-face contact in your life, that they've been subconscious or semi-conscious or something like that, except for seeing them, but them not acknowledging you, which is very unique and very cool, by the way. Um, I would think you might be able to go into the construct and create the meeting that you want to happen, where you have no fear. The ET realizes you have no fear. And as you want to do a communication, and you don't have to give the details in that setup. You just have to give the scenario, okay? And then feel the joy, not fear, feel the joy of it actually happening, even though you're setting it all up inside the matrix, inside the construct, inside the brain.
Yeah. I know
So
I felt
and,
like
and then it can happen.
yeah, I felt like I've been healed before, Michael. I I woke up frozen 6 times in a row. It's on the same date, August 11th through the 13th, for 6 years in a row. And it was weird. I was frozen in bed. I couldn't, I wasn't thinking. I got up and I was shaking the bed so hard. My wife didn't, she normally hears little pins drop on the floor or the carpet, but she didn't wake up. She was out. I was shaking the bed so big, so much, and I'm a big guy. And so I was making noise, and I got up to go to the bathroom, went back to bed, and I had nothing on my mind. I was just blank, and I was exhausted. I fell asleep. And I think somebody told me that they were tweaking my health. I asked them to do that. And Michael, you're just now saying that they do that.
Yeah.
This,
You could have been being used for something, for some purpose,
Hmm.
and it was a very strenuous exercise that you were used for,
Hmm.
or in order for you to pull off the mission, you were um, uh, greatly taxed in the physical stamina you had. And so when you wake up like that, it'll be like, oh, why are my muscles all hurting? Or a specific place. It's like you're in a battle and you wake up and the back of your arm is just killing you. It's like, what the hell happened? I know that I was in a battle, but and then you can think back and go, oh yeah, that's where I got hit with a
Hmm.
sword on my protective armor or whatever.
Okay, now you met these three extraterrestrial. Could you tell us, you've been involved in top secret stuff. I know there's certain things you can't talk about, but could you tell us some interesting stories, other than the meeting with the three ETs, I knew, which is a fantastic story. Are there other interesting things that you learned that you can talk about, Michael?
Well, my wife has actually had interaction with a couple of different species, and one of them was a mantid,
Oh,
and there was a couple of visits from that. I'm pretty sure it's from the same command structure. Whether it's the same mantid or not, I don't know, but at least the same command structure. Um, I get feelings when she talks about things, and I get like feelings off of it, and so I can put some dots together, but it's not for certain because I wasn't there. um, the little short guys, okay, the extraterrestrial biological entities, the EBEs, that are about 36 to 42 inches tall,
yeah. I met one.
that people commonly call the grays.
Mhm.
Those are the IBM XT computer of the spacefaring species. Okay, so those of us who are old enough to know when computers came around in offices, because before that they were only in very special large buildings because they were too big to fit in your average office. But once they got small enough for the average office, the one computer that everybody had, whether they did accounting or whether they did writing a book or whether they did, there was no graphic arts to speak of. But no matter what they did, they used an IBM XT computer. That was the computer using DOS. Everybody used it. These EBEs are the DOS IBM XT computers of the spacefaring species. Their design has been around a long time. They're very efficient. They've got great memory. They've got great programming flexibility. They've got real-time adjustment, but they don't have a soul. They're not really alive. They're created and then they're recycled. So they're very handy to have, and a lot of people bump into them. Oh, one of the things I wanted to say when we were talking about the Kincaid's Caves thing is sometimes we were talking about an ET. It's like I wanted to remind everybody, if you get a chance to bump into ET, all of you out there, if you get a chance to bump into ET, don't look in their eyes. Don't look in their eyes. Okay, that will and instantly, almost no matter how good you are at control of your brain, instantly numb your brain and put you under their control.
Yeah,
So
I guess I made the mistakes. I
st
looked them in the eye.
Right.
Yeah,
I did too.
yeah,
And I knew better, Dave. I was in the inner circle. We talked about it.
yeah.
And yet when it happened to me the first time, I stared down low when I came around the corner to look at him. I was staring down low because I was expecting these 36 to 42-inch little creepers, but it wasn't. They were 8 foot tall beings. And my eyes rolled up and they stopped right at their chins. And I didn't go any further with my eyes, although my peripheral caught the other details of what they look like. But I stopped at their chins. And that's when I started screaming telepathically at them, "Who are you? Where are you from? Who are you? Where are you from?" But when things got further along and they communicated with me with a device that let me know that they're from the Crux constellation, um, the Southern Cross, uh, I was excited by that, and I wanted to know what star. Obviously, once you know that you're from the constellation, it's like which star and then which planet, right? That's where I was going to go. And I knew how to communicate with them. It's a video stream interwoven with a rebus puzzle. Okay, so I figured out how to communicate with them that way, and Um, I went to look up and get which star, and I looked into their eyes. Bam. That's when they numbed me.
Yeah.
I actually was falling backwards. They caught me mid-fall, downloaded 12 minutes of stuff into my head that was like the last scene of 2001: A Space Odyssey, only 10 times faster.
Hmm.
And the most beautiful colors and shapes and things that purples and magentas and things that I was teaching Photoshop 2 when it was on floppy disks with one layer and one undo. Okay. So, I mean, I really go back with Photoshop a long ways. So I understand gamut and color and frequency and how that all interacts. I was seeing colors and dimensional shapes and things that I had never seen before
Wow.
in this download. And it
I've
turned
seen,
out to be a key for me to get answers to help people, you know?
yeah. And I'm glad you are. I mean, especially in Sedona, that's a magical place. But I guess we'll close up with this one big question I have to ask, and you knew it was coming because you mentioned something earlier. The drones and all these UFOs that are flying around now, and they're New York, New Jersey, hundreds of them in the air. And you talked about Third World War, Fourth World War. What what are all these things flying around now for, Michael? What are they?
Uh, okay. So the drones and now is a big difference in time. Was it been like 8 days,
Yeah.
18 days? I mean, things are happening so fast, Dave. I was happy doing my Sedona show once a month,
Hmm.
and then I'm going it twice a month, and now I'm looking at doing it once a week. There's just stuff is happening so fast
Yes, it is.
that it's right about the time you put your finger on something, it's a whole new level, and that finger is irrelevant. So I'm going to answer your question on the drones first. The drones were and still are potentially a method of tracking a device that we call the fish. So there's a fish that's able to swim in your inland waterways that is 18 to 24 inches long, moves like a fish, and has a very nasty disposition. Boom. Very nasty disposition. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So to detect that by satellite is like, you can't. And to detect it with helicopters is really annoying because you got to fly a helicopter back and forth and back and forth and back and forth at a fairly low altitude and be up and down the waterways, up and down the waterways. But if you come in with 50 drones at once and you go like a scanner,
Hmm.
you found everything. And so that's what they did. And they found and they destroyed the fishes. Now, every inland waterway is a potential problem. Louisiana had them, Florida had them, Virginia had them, New York had them. You know, it wasn't just in one spot. So we took care of that situation. Could it happen again? Yeah. So if all of a sudden you see drones, a big concentration of drones again, it's happened again. We've
Who
gotten
sent?
the word that the fishes have been released.
Yeah. Who sent the fishes? I mean, who?
The cabal.
The cabal. Okay. All right. How about the plasmoids and the orbs that people saw, Michael, during all this flap?
Um, I would really have to see some video or yeah, video. It's the only way it's going to make any sense because photos are so easily uh, trapped through lens aberrations, and they look a lot like orbs. I mean, let's just be honest.
Right.
So, as a photo analyst, and I've done work for BBC and Discovery Television, as a photo and video analyst, I need to have a few seconds to be able to know for sure what people are seeing, or at least say there's no way I have any idea. Therefore, it's not from us. Therefore, it's an extraterrestrial thing, which I can conclude. Um, but I need to have like 5 to 10 seconds of video, unedited, preferably on a tripod, but it's really hard to get.
Mhm.
So, and then I can tell what the motion is, what the angles are, and everything else when they say, yeah, I was aiming at, this building in my city. I can simulate that. And I can then look at their video and tell whether they were seeing a spaceship, a satellite, an airplane, a planet, a star, or something else.
Mm.
Because all those things exist. And
Right.
all of them can look like all of them depending on the motion of the camera and how far away in the zoom.
Yeah, so that's why the presidents, both of them, Biden and Trump, said that they were FAA approved and they were not our enemies. That's what they said. But
They said they were not military.
yeah,
They're not. They're intelligence. Intelligence isn't military,
hmm,
except for military intelligence.
right.
Intelligence is intelligence, and it's theoretically civilian.
Yeah.
So even though they've been working against the civilians, for the last spotty years, um, we have a handle on those weapons. We have a handle on space weapons. We have a handle on where everything is on the surface of the planet. And so there is, and by the way, we had hypersonic missiles decades ago,
Yes.
decades ago.
Well, Trump made a remark the other day, Michael. He said he was talking about Russia and China, China mostly, I think, but he looked at the camera and he looked at the people around him, his supporters and his staff, and he says, "We have weapons you can't imagine."
Yeah.
Said we haven't even shown half of our arsenal. He
And,
said,
and, and they showed you Lahaina.
"Yeah,
They showed you Texas.
yeah,
They showed you California.
yeah,
Did you see the fires raging
yeah,
underneath the sidewalks?
yeah,
Underneath the sidewalks? And the houses are completely burnt down, but the trees are all still perfect?
yeah."
Yeah, that's not a forest fire. That's a weapon. Did you see my video where I burnt down the World Trade Center at Contact in the Desert
No, I
with
did.
my hand phaser?
No, I didn't see that contact in the desert. No, but you're right, and it happened in Maui too, right?
This is a this is a hand phaser.
Really?
And I burnt down a model of the World Trade Center on stage at Contact in the Desert with this hand phaser.
Oh,
And I mean, burnt it down.
so that's kind of do like a do weapon, Michael?
It is. It's exactly what it is. And so people that go poo poo whatever, I go, you want to see one? I made one.
Yeah.
In fact, I've made several.
But does it work on colors of blue, like blue color?
No,
Yeah.
that's why I test it. I shoot it at my blue screen
Okay.
here in the studio.
Yeah.
When I'm
Wow.
aiming it and calibrating it, I shoot it at the blue screen. Yeah.
So Maui was the same thing with the do weapon, I would imagine.
Yeah, Lahaina. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's
They cleared it out to put in a 15-minute city.
and so it's not our government, it's not our military, it's the deep state cabal. And
Yeah,
yeah, that
exactly. I know it sounds like cliche by now,
I know.
and the war is technically over, but we have to mop up. We have to clean up the bad guys. We have to mop up the bad guys.
Yeah.
The war is technically over because they didn't kill 95% of the human race like they promised.
Yeah.
We were too smart.
Yeah, I don't want to get
Yeah,
too political, but I have a
yeah.
buddy, Troy Anderson, who wrote a book, The Trump Code. And this
Uh-huh.
goes back to 1892, where this guy Lockwood wrote a book
Yeah,
about,
with
about
Baron Trump.
Barron Trump's advance.
Yeah,
And it all ended up with with a tower in New York, and his dad was named Don. And so he says that Donald Trump is a time traveler. Could that be possible, Michael?
uh, no. I love the story though.
Yeah.
Um, however, thought can travel through time. Memories can travel through time.
Mhm.
Um, because they're not subject to the three dimensions, therefore they're not subject to the fourth dimension, which is time, which
Mhm.
is just a wrapper that goes one way around our three-dimensional existence here. Um, Then there's fifth dimensional, which is non-corporeal, but has 5 dimensions of existence, and it has a 2-dimensional time wrapper called the sixth dimension. It goes, heavy math, heavy math. I mean, all the way up to 11th dimension creator. It's really a cool construct, the way that this whole verse works.
Wow.
But you can't go, the 3D part can't go this way or that way, but thought can. All you need is a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the technology that we've taken from the second ship that we brought down out of the 3 that we brought down in Alamogordo, New Mexico in 1947, that had the chair in it that led to the name of the program where you could see into the future and stuff.
Oh, Project Looking Glass.
Looking Glass, yeah. So Looking Glass has the ability to move thought through time. And of course, if you're hooked up, but that's the only thought that your brain is getting, then it's like being there in reality, just like the Matrix tells us.
Yeah, I noticed you mentioned Matrix several times. So, Michael, are we truly in a Matrix?
Yeah, but the important thing to note is the metaphor, the main metaphor. The main metaphor in the Matrix is that we're sitting in a tube with wires going into our brain, feeding ourselves a false reality that we think is real. Okay. The only difference between that and our reality is people aren't in a tube of goo. They watch the tube.
Yeah.
They watch a presentation that's getting better and better at immersing the brain in a false reality
Yeah.
that people are told to believe is true.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are in the Matrix.
Yeah.
We know better. We can go into the Matrix and see what they're doing, but we're not trapped by it because we busted ourselves out, right, Dave? I mean, we know what's really going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not worried that some threat that's only on the Matrix is around us.
Yeah.
Because that creates a fear, and fear is a great stopper of all mankind.
Yeah. Consciousness is very important for that collective thing. Yeah.
And that's it, and that's everywhere. That's with people in the Matrix and outside the Matrix. But the consciousness in the Matrix is being manipulated and being filtered and being ionized.
Yeah.
Because out here, it's everywhere. It's everything. You can tune to anything
mm-hmm.
in the real world. You're only tuned to the Matrix when you're in the Matrix.
Okay. We're about at the end of our time. I usually try to go for an hour, but we're past an hour now. But
surprise.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're very interesting, and I know you got so much to talk about, and I'd love to
We'll do another show, Dave. We'll do another show.
Yeah. I'd love to have you back on.
If your audience digs it,
yeah,
put me back on.
I will, bro. I will, buddy. I mean, that's and you're from Sedona. How much better can it be?
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I just
now, if your peeps come here, make sure you look up Arizona UFO tours.
Okay.
Not Sedona. Okay. Arizona UFO tours.
Okay.
And come on a tour with me. Ask me anything. It'll be fun.
We might be out there in a couple of months, and we'll stop and visit, and I'll give you a buzz before we.
I'll get you in the studio and get you on a Sedona UFOs TV show with me, and you can tell me some stuff about yours.
Yeah, I've got a lot of story. I went 4 hours one time on an interview.
Nice.
Yes. So I got.
We don't want to do 4 hours at once.
No, yeah. I got a book. It's what do they want? I wrote that. It's my first book years ago, and I got 4 books actually, and I wrote one on angels because I saw 2 angels, a robed angel at the foot of my bed twice, once in 71 and once in 99, and it was weird.
Was it a good one or a bad one?
It was a good one because it was a feminine. I know it was a woman in a white robe with a veil, and it stood there and was looking at me. And I woke up and I said, "What the heck?" And I just stared at it for about, I guess, 10 seconds. It stood there, and then it turned real easy and walked away into another room or hallway. And I tried to track it down. It was gone, disappeared.
Yeah, always works that way.
Yeah,
because you're too conscious at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, I wrote that book on angels, and but it's all about angels. And you talked about the Tower of Babel. I mentioned that here a while back, and then you talked about telepathy. And real quick, can you cover that real quick before we go?
It was the common language. So all the humans were engineered with telepathy. So our language was telepathy. it's you know it's a work, it's an
Mhm.
effort to
Yeah.
take thought and turn it into language, even when it's your home language. Uh, and then there's ambiguities, and then there's attitudes of the person on the other end. Are they really knowing what you're seeing and feeling? But telepathy is like straight on, whoa. And it's really wonderful when you get to use it in a
Yeah.
positive way, and it amazes people, freaks people out sometimes, but it amazes people. And I know that I am telepathic just as much as I know that I have two fingers up right now.
Right.
Okay. It's just the evidence is undeniable.
I know there's certain people that I'm DNA connected with, or even my wife. If I think of something, I'm sending her a message, and right away
Yeah.
she picks it up and
Yeah.
she gets it or whatever
Yeah.
she's
We
doing.
call that pinging. You're
Yeah.
pinging her.
So we're just we do have a little bitty bit left, I guess, Michael.
There's a song called Radar Love, talks all about it.
Radar. There you go. I like that song. Okay, you can be seen on Truth on TV, and then you got Sedona UFOs IV. I guess that
TV,
TV.
SedonaUFOs.tv,
Okay, and
and SedoNews.website. Those are my free ones.
okay.
Sedona News is my news program,
Hmm.
and Sedona UFOs is where I interview people. And then Truth on TV has scads of stuff, and it's subscription. It's $49 a year,
Hmm.
and but there's no commercials anywhere on the entire channel. And you can see all the Sedona Newses, all the Sedona UFOs. I got F Troop and Rocky and Bullwinkle and
Yeah.
Get Smart and all kinds of great stuff up there too. But I've also got 220 hours of hard hitting documentary stuff that's banned on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram because I was revealing the truth about all this stuff
Yeah.
back in 2020, 2019, 2020,
Hmm.
and all the things that are still there. I left them up so that you can go and review them. And today in 2025, now that the truth is coming out, and say, see, I was telling you the truth then. I'm telling you the truth now.
Yeah.
It's a place to come to for a broad spectrum of truth on TV.
For somebody who knows Sedona, your Arizona UFO tours, where do they go? They cover all the buttes. There's about five big ones there. Do you cover all the buttes, and do you do a night?
No, Arizona UFO Tours only does the night vision UFO tour.
Okay, okay,
So I have a space up at the airport.
okay.
I'm the only one. The highest point in town. The airport's up on top of a
Yeah,
mesa
I've been there.
here.
Yeah, I've been there several times.
Try flying an airplane in on that sometime. It's fun. It's really tricky. It's like an aircraft carrier, but it doesn't rock.
I heard
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah. In fact, I sit on my patio and I watch pilots come in, and a lot of times they'll have to go around. If it's their first time here, they'll misjudge the altitude. I had to go around my first time landing in Sedona. Um,
Oh, so you're a flyer too, huh?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
like I said, I started landing up here when I was
yeah.
still a student pilot in 1980. I
Okay.
got my license in 81, and I would fly up to Sedona from the Phoenix Valley on weekends just to get another couple hours on my books because that's all pilots want more hours,
Yeah.
right?
Now
And
you can
so
only fly props in, right? You can't fly.
yeah, I'm not rated for jet. I'm not even rated for multi-engine.
No, I mean
So
the airport there. You
oh
can.
no, the airport's big enough to handle. Um, we could land if it wasn't loaded. We could land a 707 here.
Wow.
It's a 5,000 foot runway.
Yeah, I know a lot of.
5,000. It's a mile long.
Yeah, a lot
It
of
kind
movie.
of angles a little bit,
Yeah,
but we've
yeah,
had big jets take
wow,
off out of here. We've had B-29s, and we have every once a year we have the Wings and Wheels show where
mhm,
we've got all old airplanes and stuff. We've
yeah.
had Ospreys there, and
Oh,
yeah, all kinds of stuff.
okay. Yeah, that sounds exciting. I didn't stay there long enough to watch all that, but I heard a lot of movie stars fly there, and it
Yeah.
must be some top secret stuff going on there too, because you've had some politicians that lived there and
Yeah,
around there.
we have, well, they live here for 2 weeks out of the year. Um, we have a location here that's called Enchantment Resort, and
Yes.
that's where a lot of action happens. I have had, I'll just say a Trump family member on a personal tour. with their Secret Service, and I've had uh, other famous people. I really shouldn't mention names.
I know you
What
can't, but
were
I want to mention the name Don Jr. takes an interest in UFOs.
so does Jimmy Church, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've had a lot of people on personal tours where it's just them and me, so that we can talk about things
Hmm.
and go places that are unique. But generally, I take the public only up on the top of the airport mesa, which is the highest point in town, and we get a really nice view, especially when it's past the full moon. So any day from the full moon, the day after the full moon till a quarter moon, those are the best times to do the tours because there's that less light. Instead of seeing 100 ships, we'll see 200 ships.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I would advise people to go to Sedona and see Michael O. Sedona at and then check out his tours. I'll have this on the narrative on the
Cool.
program
Yeah.
when I post it. But you've been listening to Michael O. Sedona, and this has been Strange Reality with Dave Emmons. We want to thank you for listening. I think you're going to find this show very interesting. And I'm going to have, I hope I can get him back on if he has time to do another follow-up show. I mean, it's great. And you and I, buddy, we kind of have mutual interests there. We're musicians.
A lot in common.
We know
I
about,
got to turn you on to a couple of Terra Anomaly songs once I find out what genre you like.
okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much,
You bet.
Michael Sedona and The Strange Truth with Dave Emmons. We're signing off now. Good night, everybody.